All right, shalom. Here we are. I am pre-recording this, and we'll have it. I'm doing it quite early, so it should be up no problem in time for everybody. Hope everything goes well. Let me put the microphone here just to make sure it's loud enough. All righty. Let's start with a quick prayer. Avinu malkeinu ken yiratzon ki achshav tishlachna alai et ruach hakodesh ki ani achol לקרוא בספרך הטוב. כן, אדוני, תעזר אותנו ללמוד טוב בעיניך. בכל הדברים האלה אנחנו נברכך בזכות ישוע המשיח. All right. Here we are. So last night we finished, or morning, depending on where you are, we finished here. So we've got 3 verses. The last one's kind of meaty to get through, so I think this will be okay. It may go a little bit faster since I'm pre-recording, so please don't be upset if class ends up being 30 minutes instead of 45. It could happen. All right. The very first verse says, Vayishkon kavod Adonai al har-סיני ויחסהו הענן ששת ימים. Let me get that a bit bigger, maybe. There. Okay. All right, it's at the very top. Vayishkan. So this is from shakhan, which is to dwell, to inhabit. This is where we get the word the shekhina. It's the part from not biblical Hebrew, but from rabbinical Hebrew. The part of God that inhabits a place. The mishkan is called, it's the tabernacle. It's called the mishkan. Remember, we oftentimes put a mem in front of something to give you a word that's used by that verb for the verb to accomplish its purpose. So the mishkan, it's the place where the Spirit of God would shakhan, right, where he would inhabit it. It's the mishkan. So tabernacle really feels like it loses something in English on that one. So the yod tells us he is doing it, or he will be doing it. Yishkon, he is inhabiting, he is dwelling, or he will dwell. Vayishkon, the vav changes the time, and changes the aspect. So Vayishkon, and he inhabited, or and he dwelled. Okay, who did? The kavod Adonai, the glory of Adonai. So then, the glory of, and actually maybe we should just real quick refresh the previous verse just to get us some context. Verse 15, Vaya'al Moshe el hahar, then Moshe went up to the mountain, Vaychas ha'anan, and the cloud covered et hahar, the mountain. Right? Then we have this Vayishkon kavod Adonai, and the kavod. Now notice kavod became kevod. Kavod, usually we would have a kamets here. It looks like the uppercase T. The k'amets, that ah sound, there's a special rule when it's just in front of the syllable that's accented, right? When it comes before that. So in this case, it's not kavod, it's kavod, right? So the accent is after it, just one syllable after it. If we do something to change the word, like we add endings to it, or we connect it to another word so they should be read together, like a compound word, or we put a suffix on it, we put it in plural, anything that's going to add more syllables to the word. Well, in Hebrew, usually the accent likes to be on the end of the word. It's the opposite of English. In English, we like it at the beginning, usually, right? That's why we call it English, not English. Usually it's in the beginning. But if it was Hebrew, we'd call it English, right? In fact, in Hebrew, Anglit. We don't say Anglit. English, Anglit, we say Anglit. It's not always this way. It's just the character of the language. And then Tagalog, for the Filipino speaker, is kind of funny. It prefers the penultimate syllable, the one just before the end. It's like, you get everybody in the mix here. So what happens is, when you move that syllable, the accented syllable, right? You're not moving the syllable, but you move the accent later on in the word. That k'amets that came just before the tone syllable, we call it a pretonic k'amets. It will change to a vocal schwa. Unless the letter is a guttural, then it becomes what we call a composite schwa. Because you can't put a normal vocal schwa, the colon, when it's making an eh sound, underneath a guttural, underneath ayin, aleph, hey, or chet. Okay? All right. So what's happening here, you see the hyphen? That's a maqef. Maqef, we call it. It's like a hyphen, right? It tells you that in ancient times, well, not even ancient, but 1,200 years ago when the Masoretes invented this system, that those words were a compound. They were read as if they were one word. So, and this happens when you have a construct. So something of something else. So instead of kavod Adonai, it became kavod Adonai because the accent's no longer here on the O. It moved over here to the next word. Do you understand? Because this is like one word. Even though today, even in the synagogue, even when we're reading from the Torah scroll, we no longer do that ancient reading. We don't treat it like it's one word. But that's why this is happening. Sometimes it helps people to know the history behind the thing, to understand why it's happening. If that helps you, receive it. If it doesn't help you and it stresses you, then la 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 la. Just let it flow over. This is immersion. We're doing directed immersion here, okay? So, Vayishkon kavod Adonai, then the glory of Adonai, shakhan, inhabited or dwelled, upon Har-סיני, another construct, Mount Zion, or the mountain of Sinai. Vaychasehu he'anan. Okay, so here's the subject, he'anan. So he'anan is the anan, the cloud. It's the subject of this verb. So kasa, we know this. We had it yesterday. Here we had vaychas. Remember, it lost the hey. It's a lamed hey verb, meaning pa'al. The third position is lamed. It had a hey, and the hey went away. So here, vaychas. You might think the hey is part of the verb. Why is it back here, you might ask? It's not. This is a suffix. It's the suffix hu, meaning he. So the yod tells us that he is the subject, i.e. the cloud. So then yod, the cloud, vaychase, it completely covered hu, it, meaning the har, the mountain. That's the him. The hu is the har. Okay, so we have two he's here. The first yod, he, that's the mountain, that's the cloud. So we say he'anan. So we don't translate he there. We say then the cloud, that's what that first yod is, completely covered hu, him, meaning Har-סיני, Mount Sinai. You'll notice there's a dot in the samech here. This tells us it's the PIEL banyan. It's a strengthened form of the verb. So completely covered would be appropriate to translate, not just covered, like I said there. Up above, vaychas, this is kal. This is just covered, right? When we said vaychas he'anan, the cloud covered. But now, vaychasehu, it's the PIEL. It completely covered it. The cloud completely covered it. Sheshit, this is from Shishah, not to be confused with the Turkish Shishah, which is the thing, it's got like, it's a tube, it goes into like a glass thing, and it's like, there's like tobacco and strawberries and weird stuff, and people smoking through the tube, right? That's a Shishah. Or a Hookah in Turkish, a Shishah in Arabic. And so we call it that also in Hebrew. But Shishah meaning six, right? So 6 of, the hey became a tav. So sheshit is literally 6 of yamim, days. That's the plural of yom. Whew. Now, something interesting here. The hu, it might not be referring to Har, mountain. Some authorities think it refers actually to Moshe, to Moses, right? Him, saying that he was completely covered by the shekhina. In fact, Rashi talks about, there's a machloket, there's a disagreement among the sages whether we're talking about the mountain being completely covered, or, so Har-סיני, is that the he, or is it Moshe, the hu at the end of the verb, vaychasehu, and it completely covered him. Did it completely cover Moshe or the mountain? I think it's, for me, it feels like the mountain, and at least that's the closest antecedent. But there's a teaching that's derived from this, that anyone who enters into the shekhina must isolate himself for 6 days. So it's kind of interesting from the people before the shekhina will come on him. So, all right. Continue on. Verse Yod Zayin. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped. We're not done yet. Vaykaha אל משה ביום השביעי מתוך הענן. ויקרא. Kara is to call, right? When we read, we call from a book. Kara be, call in a book, right? Or from a book. The Yod tells you it's he. Yikra, he will call. Vayikra, and he called. El, unto Moshe. Moshe. Very interesting. It sounds like the cloud is the one doing the calling. Bayom, bayom. Be, in. Ah is the, plus that dagesh, right? Do you remember? Who remembers what that ancient word for thee in Hebrew was? When we go back before biblical times. It doesn't show up in the Bible. But in biblical time, pre-biblical times, there was a word for thee. Hal. Hal. And so if you remember that, some of the weird pointing stuff that happens sometimes when we put the definite article on a word is better explained, right? So here, what happens is a process. If I wanted to say the day, I would say Hal Yom. But by the time we get to the Torah, it's already, that lamed always assimilates, right? So instead of Hal Yom, it was Hay Yom. The Yod has doubled. Just like our in legal example in English, illegal with two L's. So Hay Yom, there's a dot there and the ah underneath the hey. But if you want to put what we call one of the inseparable prepositions, these are the prepositions, in, with, against, like, to, belonging to, for, as, but it's just three letters. Beit, kaf, or lamed. Those are what we call the inseparable prepositions. Then those guys, they kick out the hay. Think of them like an Israeli coming in and kicking out a Canaanite, but it keeps the house. The hal leaves its footprint. So that's why there's the ah underneath this word, underneath the bait, from the hay that got kicked away. And the lamed that assimilated, it stays. So, ba yom. So, b is in, ah, and the dagesh. I usually just say ah, but now I think you guys can graduate. It's also the dagesh, the dot in there. Those two things are telling us it's the. So, b in, I, so like the first yod, the yom, day. Ba yom, in the day. Ha, so that was hal. That's why we have a dagesh in the sheen. Hal shevi'i became hash shevi'i. So the shevi'i, the seventh. Mitoch, so mi is from min, meaning from, and the nun assimilated. Instead of min toch, it became mit toch. So that's why we have a dagesh in the tav. He's saying, hey, there's a nun inside of me. In legal, illegal, min toch, mit toch. Okay? But we today just pronounce it mitoch. This is from the word tavech. It used to be tawach, which means the midst of, right? So, well, the midst, and when it becomes toch, it means midst of. That's the construct form. Mitoch, from the midst of, he'anan, the cloud. And notice I had to say the midst of, because again, we have a chain here. Something of something else. That last word, if it's definite, it makes the whole chain definite, which means we need to say the. So we don't say from midst of the cloud, we say from the midst, even though there's no the here visible, of the cloud. He anan. Okay? Maybe I'll give you guys a second to ask questions while I take a drink. I'll let the video keep recording. Or for the note takers to make their notes look pretty. All right, hopefully that gave me time to handle any questions. Let's continue. Verse Yod Zion 17. Umarei kavod Adonai ke'esh ochelet berosh hahar. Umarei. Ooh, and now let's pretend we don't know this word. Can you see the root of the word? Resh aleph hey, right? Ra'ah, to see. And remember, I said that when you see a word that has a mem that's part of the word, and you recognize the root, you can oftentimes figure out what that word means. So it will either be like an occupation, like somebody who does the thing of that verb, or it will be like something having to do with that verb, right? It's somehow related to that verb, like it's used in that verb's existence, all right? For that verb to execute what it is. So this is a thing having to do with ra'ah, being seen, all right? So maybe I'll just tell you, mar'eh, it's an appearance. It's an appearance. Umar'eh, an appearance. Kavod Adonai, the glory of the Lord, or the glory of Adonai. Again, the glory of Adonai, because Yod-Heh, Vav-Heh is totally a name. Okay? It's unlike those who say that it's not a name, it's just a verb. If that were the case, then we wouldn't have. Then the Masoretes would not have changed the pointing of kavod here. It would still be kavod, not kavod, not glory of, right? Because if it's a name, if it's not a name, it doesn't make sense to say glory of. He brings into creation. He brings into being. Right? It doesn't make sense. So just knowing enough of the patterns of the grammar, if you will, in Hebrew, can already debunk a lot of these ideas that people have, like it's not really a name. You know, I hear this from a famous Muslim apologist. Well, he's a Christian apologist against Islam, right? And all the time he'll say it's not a name. It is a name. This is absolutely a name. It's a proper name, and all the grammar cooperates in that way. Okay. Ke'esh ochelet. K. We had this a long time ago. This word of the day, kaf, is like or as. So like eish, fire, like fire, ochelet. So the verb is achal, to eat. This is a feminine singular active participle. Sorry. Just going to drop that for those of you who like the grammar stuff. It's feminine because eish is actually feminine, even though it doesn't look like it. It doesn't end in ah or it, but it still is. So ke'eish ochelet, like fire consuming. Berosh, at, or in, you could say. Rosh, remember Rosh? Head. So literally at head of har, of the har, the mountain. So now we have to say the head of the mountain, at the head of the mountain. So you can say it this way, or you can say at the mountain's peak, right? That's how you say mountain peak. It's Rosh Har, is a mountain peak. Okay. Le'ainei b'nei Yisrael. Le, to, or belonging to, or for, Einei b'nei Yisrael. This is a long construct chain. It's 3 words in the chain. So, Einei, it's from ayin, which means eye. The plural, it's einayim, that means 2 eyes. And then we drop the mem, Einei, eyes of. So, eyes of, okay, what's b'nei? B'nei, it's from banim, children. Drop the mem, b'nei, children of. And then Yisrael is a proper noun. That is, it's a name. So because that last one is definite, it's not like ha, like we had before. We had, there we go, Berosh hahar, at the head of the mountain. We had ha to make it definite. Here it's a name, Yisrael. That makes it definite. It's not any old place or any old people. It's Yisrael, right? It's got a name. It's definite. So we have to say the here and the here. So le ainei banei Yisrael, for or to or belonging to, probably for the eyes of the children of, and then we don't have to say the, as we say of Israel. Okay. Uh-oh, almost done. Maybe I'll stop for a second. Let's see if there's a question. Yeah. It's only 3 verses. That's kind of the issue. Last night, I don't know if you remember, well, yesterday, I was looking at it and I thought, well, if we do another verse, then there's only 2 before the end of the chapter, right? I don't want to get into the next chapter until next week. I kind of like the clean breaks, so let me disappear for a sec. See if you guys have any questions. Contemplate the truth I just dropped on you. So I could point out that the 6 days, in the Mikrot Gedolot, Abarbanel says that the reason for the 6 days was because 6 days matches the time of creation, right? How long it took Hashem to create. And what he was doing with Moshe was he was ridding his body of any of the physical remnants that were still there. He's making him like super spiritual, right? He's getting him in this kind of like creation state, so that when he was done doing this to Moshe, in the future he would be able to receive prophecy anytime, right? Not just when he's dreaming, not just when he, etc., right? So at any time, which we see Moshe is the greatest prophet, right? As far as receiving prophecy. All right, so maybe we let's see, continue here. Hopefully, I was able to answer the questions you had. They weren't questions that would cross a rabbi's eyes. Questions that would cross. It's rabbis, right? Yeah, or is it wise men's eyes? I think it's rabbis' eyes. From Tevya der Milcher, Fiddler on the Roof. Yod Chet, verse 18. Vayavo Moshe. Sorry. I just keep thinking of that. Questions that would cross a rabbi's eyes. It's in my head. By the way, if anybody knows where to get that in Yiddish, please leave me a comment down below. I really want to see that. It seems like the Yiddish theater in New York, they don't record their stuff. They don't sell the DVDs. You can't pay to watch it. You got to be there in New York, right? And I'm always looking for Yiddish material. Very hard to find except in book form. So if there's any landsmen out there who can speak Yiddish, or you just have a fancy for Yiddish, I really, really would like to have some more stuff I could watch. So, do me a solid. Let me know where you can find some stuff. All right. Thank you to Landa for sending the Doritos. I think it was Landa. Yeah, for sending the Doritos commercial in Yiddish. That was very helpful. Or the channel that had it. I found on the channel. All right. Vayavo Moshe b'toch ha'anan. Then Moshe ba. He came, he arrived. So Yavo, you probably know it from the famous song, Mashiach, Mashiach, Mashiach. Ya, 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 ya. So the Hasidic Mashiach song. At one part they say, Ve'yavo, 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 Ve'yavo. So may he come, and he'll come, and he'll come. Anyway, though in this case it's and he came. So Yavo is he is coming, or he will come. The Vav changes the time. Ve'yavo makes it and he came. Who came? Moshe. And Moshe came, arrived. Betoch, in the midst of He'anan, the cloud. Ve'yal. Oh, we should be recognizing this one by now. It's from Allah. Allah, to ascend. We drop the hey because it's a lamed hey verb. Remember the paradigm for the verb? Pa'al. Pei, ayin, lamed. That's what we use in Jewish grammars to refer to the verbs. And so that's the index into the verb. The pei is the first position, the ayin is second position, and the lamed is third position for verbs that have 3 root letters, right? So when I say it's a lamed hey verb, that means it's a hey in the last part of the verb, and the hey often goes away. So from Allah, we're left only with ayin lamed, only with the pei. The pei letter is an ayin, and the ayin letter is a lamed. Boy, that was just a terrible thing to say, but I couldn't stop myself. It's like I'm trying to confuse you, right? I'll say it again. So in this verb, using the verbal paradigm, pa'al, the letter that's in the pei position is an ayin. And the letter that's in the ayin position is a lamed. And then the letter that's in the lamed position was a hey and it went away. Okay, so we're just left with al. So ya'al means he is ascending or he will ascend. The aspect changes with the vav consecutive. We put the vav on the front. Vaya'al, and he went up and he ascended el unto har, the mountain. Not sure why it doesn't say hahara with the directional hey, but hey, it is what it is. All right. So to cant that, Vayavo Moshe betoch ha'anan v'ya'al el ha. Whoops, sorry, messed up with the L there. Vayihi Moshe b'hahar arba'im yom v'arba'im layla. And you'll notice instead of Laila, like we usually have it, it's Layla. What happened? What happened? The saluk happened. Okay, saluk happened. So that's for, I know who likes saluk. Hebrew mentor likes saluk. So what happened was usually this is patach, right? And then the saluk, he's saying, that's an accent mark. He's saying there's extra oomph here. And so it changes the short vowel patach, that's the little vertical line, into the long vowel khamets. Okay? So instead of usually this yod, it's a closed syllable. The schwa closes the syllable. So it's a short vowel there. So we say lai. There's two syllables. Lai, la. But now because it's a long vowel, the yod has a vocal schwa under it. So layala. Okay. Interesting they didn't point it that way, but it should be that way. It should be layala. Okay. All right, let's see. Tick. So let's translate. Vayehi Moshe. So, and Moshe was Bahar, in the Har, in the mountain, Arba'im, 40 Yom, days, Ve'arba'im, and 40 Layala, night. But notice it's just Yom, day, and Layala, night. Isn't that interesting? For some reason, it just does it that way. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit tired. When I say it does it that way, what I mean is what I mentioned the other day. We oftentimes have in biblical Hebrew, you'll have a noun that's in the singular, but it's used kind of collectively to represent a plural, right? So Yom can mean day and Laila can mean night, or it can be used to mean days and nights. Obviously, 40 day makes no sense, 40 day, right? But it's just kind of an old way of speaking. It's funny, I looked over at the monitor where usually you guys are at, to see like any comments or questions. Oh, they're not there. I felt like you were here with me for a moment. All right, let's try to make this at least 30 minutes. We're at 28 now. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to check on something. While I check on it, let me stick around here. And we will, you can ask your questions. I'm going to look at a siddur, see if there's something I'd like to show you. We have a little bit extra time. Here, okay. Let's do the Aleinu. This is a good prayer. Okay, so hopefully I answered all your questions. Let me, let's close the Tanakh. Not good to leave it sitting around open. I think I've shared this before. This is one of my old Hebrew Bibles. It's decades old, and you'll look, see, there's notes in the columns. It's like an old friend. This is also Korn Publishers, but this one doesn't have the nice little showing you where the Qamets is. Oh, look, some silver writing. See? I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? It looks the blossom. There you go. See, it's like silver. This might be 30 years old. No, maybe not quite 30. See, notes. All right, I was where you guys are now, so don't worry, you'll get there. You'll get there. We all have to go through this. Ooh, there's lots of notes on this page. I like to use the colors to mark, although I didn't always do it right with the colors. Sometimes, I didn't have them with me always or whatever. Oh, see, here's the yellow. So this guy was falling apart, and I had it rebound when I was in Switzerland with ram skin. Nice ram skin. Anyway, okay. I was hoping for a page with some nice colors. I told you how much I like doing colors, and then there's just mechanical pencil everywhere. Maybe I wasn't into the colors as much. Oh, here's a good page with colors. Yeah, look at this guy. So here's in Psalms. So look at all those. See, so it's kind of cool if you have like colored pens. You can do like mark the word, then have your index here. Kind of like making your own. It's kind of like making your own reader's Bible or something, you know. So like here it makes it quick to see. Although most of these you look, I got lazy, but so here's like blue, boom, you look it up, pink, purple, right? You know, green. I don't know. I find it useful to do it that way. Not so proud of the handwriting, but oh, and that's a lot of that stuff's in cursive, so maybe. All right, I thought there was some prettier pages. I might have gotten confused. The different one. Okay, anyway, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to check out the Siddur, the Aleinu. Let's do the Aleinu. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll make this, in case some of you want to go and you're done, I'm going to make this a separate video. So I will tell the stream to load this video up right afterwards. So if you stick around, the Aleinu video is going to load up. We'll try. It's an experiment. Otherwise, I'll just have it loaded separately, okay? So we're going to try. Okay? Here we go.